All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to give everyone a couple seconds to find their seat. Welcome, everybody, today. All right, looks like we're getting there. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending the Ruckus Blum Computer Consulting Monthly Webinar Series. Just a heads up, we are recording this and we'll post it on our website and our YouTube channel within a week or so. Also, during the webinar, if you have any questions, please put them in the question section at the bottom or the chat screen. We'll be monitoring both. And with that, my name is Kelly Bergman, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to Dylan O'Brennan, Senior Solution Engineer, and Jill Welly, Senior Regional Sales Manager with UniPoint Software. Dylan will be kicking it off today, and he serves as the creative and driven UniPoint quality management solution expert and is credited with helping their customers find innovative ways to take advantage of the unmatched power of UniPoint's advanced quality software functionality to automate quality, compliance, and tracking measurements. Before I go on forever, make another mistake, I'm going to let Dylan take it from here.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate that kind welcome. And thank you, everybody, for joining this afternoon, or I should say this morning, but afternoon for some of us. And for your interest in UniPoint quality management. We won't spend a lot of time in some slides, but we will do some high-level introductions. We'll talk about different areas for improvement, common for manufacturing companies, the different industries that UniPoint is involved in, and it's many different industries. I'll give you a high-level product overview, and then we'll jump right into a live demonstration. So I aim to wrap up the session today, maybe about 15 minutes ahead of the top of the hour, save ourselves some time for some questions. So as Kelly mentioned, as we go through, if you've got any questions, concerns whatsoever, by all means, let us know. We'll be more than happy to get those addressed for you. And as Kelly mentioned, I am joined by one of my colleagues here, Jill Welly. Jill, I'll have you give us a brief introduction if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you, Dylan. Again, I'm Jill Welly. I've been representing the quality solution for over 15 years. And prior to that, I represented a ERP manufacturing software for almost 15 years. So I've been in the manufacturing space for quite some time. I'm actually based out of the Minneapolis area, so I'm in the neighboring state of Wisconsin, and I'm looking forward to working with you on an individual basis to review your quality goals and requirements and see how the solution can help you.
Perfect. Thank you. And as Kelly mentioned, my name is Dylan O'Brennan. I'm our Senior Solutions Engineer. I've been with UniPoint. It's going on 8 years now. Time flies, but I started off life with UniPoint as one of our developers. And I was doing all of our ERP integration work, maintaining older integrations, developing new systems, and also all of our custom reporting. So I've got a pretty strong technical background. These days, my job is to demo the software, to show off all of the different functions, and really to develop an understanding of goals and requirements that our customers have, and to show them working solutions kind of on the fly. So I have a lot of fun with demos and with webinars like this. If after today's session, if you've got any outstanding questions, or if you'd like to see UniPoint one-on-one, where we can start tackling your specific requirements, let your Ruckus Blum consultant know, let Jill know maybe directly. We'd be more than happy to make arrangements for a dedicated demonstration at your convenience. So we've given you some introductions on us, a couple of people here at UniPoint, some introductions on UniPoint itself. What are we aiming to achieve with our software? Well, these are some pretty common areas for improvement amongst manufacturing companies, distributors, and so on. You might be managing your quality with a number of different platforms, and I hope that your desktop doesn't look quite in this level of disarray, but I've heard, from some people that they wish that their desk looked this organized. But if you're managing your quality right now with a number of different systems, things like logbooks, maybe an Excel spreadsheet or a couple hundred Excel spreadsheets, maybe you've built an in-house system on an Access database or similar, but really a number of different competing platforms, if you will. And that represents a bunch of different challenges. One of them, of course, is training somebody. How do I get somebody up to speed on 3 or 4 or 5 different systems versus one unified, of course? If I'm pulling together reporting, let's say I'm being tasked with finding proof at an audit and so on. It's a difficult endeavor. If I'm referencing filing cabinets and shared drives and Excel spreadsheets, it's a really time-consuming process. Oftentimes, if my desk looks like this, the tasks that I'm responsible for they can fall behind. They might be forgotten entirely. And then when I'm following up on the results of my tasks, let's say I have a corrective action that I've got in place. What were the results of that? How did we perform on that corrective action? The follow-up, again, I'm reinvesting time, effort, and so on, just to get back to where I started 6 months ago, for example. This all has consequences. One of the biggest one is a long or protracted time for putting improvement initiatives into place. So when we discover an issue that we can improve upon, how long does it actually take me to put a solution into place and to take action on that? And more often than not, we hear when we're managing quality initiatives with spreadsheets and things like that, it's really difficult to track down what are our total costs related to quality management. So no big picture there, if you will. In contrast to all of this, UniPoint, we aim to do a number of different things. First of all, we want to unify all of your quality data into a single database. Bring it all under one roof. Just by nature of a system like this, you're able to move towards a completely paperless environment. If that's a goal, you don't have to go paperless, but we encourage it if you're able to. By nature of bringing all of your data into a single database, we can also provide you with real-time information across all of your quality initiatives. So on screen here, we can see it's a small example of what we call our key indicators dashboard, and we'll see it in detail once we get into the product. But on my dashboard, I have an immediate visibility as to the health of our quality system. I know if I'm in compliance at any given moment. So just by logging in and looking at my dashboard, I understand exactly where we're at and what might need addressing. This dashboard is really going to drive collaboration and accountability on your quality workflows, that in conjunction with other tools like our to-do lists and our prescribed quality workflows and so on. And because we're leveraging Sage 100 data, we're pulling in data directly from the source. You can avoid duplicating lists of data, things like your customers, your vendors, and so on. We pull that all in directly from Sage 100, so you don't have to duplicate that data. And to help you further reduce your efforts, once you've designed a process in UniPoint, you can memorialize that as a template. And so you can automate your workflows down the road based on these templates time and time again for consistency, to really make things a quite smooth operation, make sure that everybody understands exactly what they're responsible for. Now, UniPoint, a little bit of backstory. We started off life just about, over 20 years now. This is our 21st year. And we started off really adhering to and addressing general manufacturing, ISO 9000. And in the last 20 years, we've really enhanced the software over time to make sure that we're able to address the quality requirements across really any type of industry. These are some examples, but our cornerstone where we started off was around ISO 9000. Mind you, we do have many customers under medical devices and life sciences adhering to and certified to ISO 1345. FDA requirements are covered there as well. For food and beverage, we've got all bases covered there, things like HACCP, SQF, and so on. We've got many customers under aerospace and defense, automotive, oil and gas. So whether you're looking to achieve maybe your first certification, you might be looking for a tool to help you manage your ongoing compliance as you plan for growth. UniPoint is a great tool set for all of that. Some of our customers, though, they have no requirement for a certification themselves, but they do need to be able to demonstrate that they do follow good quality practices. So again, a great tool set for all of the above. And again, in contrast to a paper-based or an Excel-based system, UniPoint is going to allow you to measure out and trend the costs related to your quality management across the board. So that is, at a high level, what types of industries that we work in. Just to give you an idea as to how we're able to address all of these very distinct industries, there are many commonalities between these certifications. So just to give you a high level idea, if we're talking about ISO 9000, these are the big bucket items or the big ticket items that you would need to address to achieve an ISO 9000 certification. So we see things like non-conformances, corrective actions, document control, quality workflows, and so on. These same items are present in other certifications as well. So for example, AS 9100, if I'm involved in aerospace or defense work, there are the same requirements as under ISO 9000. There are more requirements to be sure, but those same themes are present here as well. Corrective actions, non-conformances, audit requirements, document control, and so on. The same is true for IATF 16949. So if you're involved in automotive, you have the same requirements. The details will be different to be sure, but the high level items that we need to satisfy are very much the same across most of these, if not all of these quality certifications. I think I've made my point. It's the same idea under ISO 1345 for medical devices. We have things like nonconformances, document control, quality control, corrective actions, and so on. I did want to highlight as well that we do have all of the requirements covered for FDA approval under CFR Part 11, Part 820, and maybe one more slide here for the food and beverage crowd. But I think my point is clear in that there are a lot of common elements across all of these quality-centric industries. And the way that we're able to address them all is we provide, it's a modular approach to quality management. So you can pick and choose your modules based on your needs today or down the road as needs develop. The core quality modules in blue here, those are provided with every purchase of UniPoint. So you always have access to these core modules, and then you can add on to the system either day one or down the road. You can build on that with our optional add-on modules to really kind of round out your quality solution. So to give you a brief idea as to the module offerings and what types of functions we cover, I'll just do a lap around the wheel and describe them to you. We're going to be taking a look today at some of these in detail, so stay tuned for that. But at a high level, under the core quality modules, we're managing nonconformances, internal nonconformances, customer-facing issues, supplier or vendor-facing nonconformances. Those nonconformances could very well kick off and automate, resulting corrective actions. So there's some really nice integration between the two. Our tooling and calibration module, that's where we're doing preventative maintenance, calibrations, unscheduled repairs, really on any type of capital asset, whether that's in manufacturing equipment, inspections equipment, warehouse equipment, the sky's the limit there. Document control, as I'd mentioned, we do have all of the controls required to satisfy the strictest of industries, the strictest of certifications like FDA approval and so on. Customer service is where we're tracking customer complaints primarily. We want to make sure that we're resolving a customer issue in a timely fashion with a closed loop workflow. But that customer service module, you can track really any type of customer correspondence, whether it's a notification, a change of address, any type of customer correspondence. Requests is our change management module. So requests is built into all of our other modules. I might request a document revision. If I don't have the permissions myself to do a document rev, I can request a document revision, or maybe I'd like to request a corrective action and so on. You're also able to build out your own custom request workflows. So we have our customers managing things like engineering change orders under requests, PPAPs, APQPs, any type of advanced change management workflow. You can create your own requirements and manage that and route that under requests. We have a general purpose meetings module handling your audit meetings, maybe a health and safety meeting, any type of meeting. Key indicators, that's the dashboard that I was describing before. So that is a live dashboard. It's a per user dashboard. And there are over 800, close to 900 these days, individual metrics that I can select from while I'm setting up my dashboard. And you might have a company-wide dashboard that you'd like to implement for every user to have the same view. Or as I mentioned, each individual user can set it up based on their job description, their responsibilities. Trend analysis is our trend. It's a trend analysis engine, if you will. There are over 80 different ways to trend out your quality data. Actually, it's more than that. If we start looking at all of the different filtering capabilities, it's almost endless, the possibilities there. But the trend analysis will allow you to determine, are we headed in the right direction? Are we making the right decisions? Are we reducing our costs related to quality and so on? And then finally in blue is our per user to-do list. So as I assign tasks to users, they land on that to-do list and they stay there until they've been actioned. So it's a really nice way to make sure that everybody is held accountable, that everybody understands exactly what they're responsible for. That, in conjunction with the key indicators dashboard, is going to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks, that everybody is, on top of their assignments and so on. Now, in light gray here are our inspections modules, or quality control modules, if you will. The base inspections module is where we create inspection test plans. I can bubble drawings, I can create control levels and all that good stuff. When I do an inspection record against that, I can do that in the base module, or I might do an inspection on a mobile device through a web browser, and we'll see what that looks like today. We can also interface with coordinate measurement machines, optical comparators, ferro arms, really any type of advanced inspections equipment. We can data map that into our inspections module with Inspections Manager to automate the collection of inspections results from your inspection equipment. AS9100, that is specific to aerospace and defense work. So if you have a requirement for AS9102 first article inspections reports, we automatically generate those based off of manufacturing data and first article inspections data out of UniPoint. Now in dark gray are a la carte module offerings. You can pick and choose based on your needs, like I say, day one, or you can always add these on down the road. They pretty much do what they say on the tin, so I won't spend as much time here, but we have an education and training module. There's some really nice integration with document control to make sure that our education initiatives are always in sync with our recent document revisions. We have an auditing module for managing internal audits, ISO audits, IATF audits, whatever the case may be. Health and safety for tracking incidents and managing your MSDS. Supplier management, we're developing supplier scorecards, and we can leverage data from our other UniPoint modules. So just as an example, maybe I want to pull in all of the non-conformances and the costs related to those against a particular supplier and roll that number into a supplier scorecard and rank them accordingly. So very powerful that. We have a full-blown risk management module where we can plan to mitigate risk and analyze risk, whether it's a very simple risk assessment strategy or maybe you're doing a full-blown FMEA. We have a web-based survey platform that's similar to SurveyMonkey, if you're familiar with that. So that allows you to survey your customers, your vendors. You can also survey your own employees. Validation is a requirement for some companies under some industries. So medical devices, life sciences, for example, you may be required to validate your use of a quality system. And this validations module has been predefined with templates on all of our modules to validate that it is giving you the correct output, if you will. Portal is a little bit unique. Portal allows you to assign tasks from inside of UniPoint to your customers directly or to your vendors directly. So again, back to my non-conformances, maybe I want my supplier or my vendor to respond to the investigation phase of a non-conformance. I can assign them a task via Portal and they'll receive an email directing them how to respond to that. So very powerful in the sense that it allows you to extend the scope of your quality system to get your customers and your vendors involved in the process. So all told, like I say, UniPoint is a modular system. Around the outside here, we are calling out here that we have UniPoint Web and Windows interfaces available. So how we deploy this is up to you. UniPoint Web is an optional interface, and we'll be showing it today, but just understand that we have both Windows applications and web interfaces ready to go. And we describe UniPoint as an off-the-shelf or an out-of-the-box type of a solution. So we include our Sage 100 integration. That's ready to go. We've got a number of customers using it day in and day out, and it pulls in a number of data points automatically for you. We'll see that in just a second. But we also include a number of different standard quality reports across all of our available modules. We have close to 900 different metrics these days across our modules for that dashboard item, the key indicators, over 80 different ways to trend out your quality data. And because it's an off-the-shelf system, it's very quick to implement. All of our customers, they use the exact same screens. The workflows that they employ will be different, of course, but because it is a consistent look and feel across all of our modules, it's very quick and easy to learn. Once you've learned one module, you can easily implement other modules based on your understanding of the first. So that is at a very high level how we offer UniPoint. I will say one final thing is that we license this by concurrent users. You might find maybe 4 seats is suitable for a team of 12 people. It all really depends on how many people are logged in and taking action on quality items at the same time. Now, the integration that we offer to Sage, it's a live integration. There's over 110 individual data points that we pull forward. The big buckets of data are on the right side here. So your customers, your vendors, your work orders and purchase orders, your sales orders, your items list, all of your employees, your work centers, departments, and warehouse locations, those all get pulled into UniPoint directly right from Sage. So you can avoid duplicating these lists of data. You'll ensure that the data is accurate. We're pulling it in from the source of truth. And that data is stamped directly into your quality records. So you don't have to risk a transcription or a typo type of an error. It's all pulled in directly from the source. And we'll see what that looks like once you get into the product. Now, inspections, I could spend, an hour, sometimes 2 hours, depending on the complexity of the inspections, but I could spend a long time just talking inspections. Today, we'll take a very short look at it, but at a very high level, under inspections, we're doing things like creating inspection test plans or inspection specifications, as we refer to them. That could be any type of inspection, whether that's a receiving or incoming goods inspection, first article, in processed, finished goods, a warranty inspection, anything you can imagine, you can create the appropriate inspection types. While you're doing that, you can bubble out your characteristics or attributes directly from drawings. You define your tolerances, of course, but then you can also configure any number of control levels that give you advanced notifications. And as well, because we're managing your tooling and equipment, your preventative maintenance, we want to define the planned tools or the planned measurement instruments that we're going to be using while we're performing this inspection. Then when we actually record an inspection record against this, we're going to make sure that those tools, that they've been properly calibrated. We can monitor the results in real time with our control charts. And then based on the control levels that we've set up in the test plan, we can immediately send off alerts if we've crossed one of those warning thresholds, if you will. If we do have a failure, though, I can immediately kick off and automate my resulting nonconformance right from that failed inspection, and it ties the two records together. So we always have full traceability there. Inspections Mobile, and I'll be showing you this live today. This is the same idea. We're recording an inspection result, but in a touch-friendly mobile interface. And so this can be deployed anywhere in your facility as long as you've got a web browser-enabled device. This environment uses a lower cost seat as well. So this uses what we refer to as a light seat. But in the same way I described before, in the event of a failure, and in this case, we can see that thickness is the control light is lit up in red, so we are out of tolerance. Right from that failed inspection, I can kick off and automate my nonconformance. I can use my template with all of my predefined task assignments and so on, and close the loop between my failed inspections and the resulting nonconformance side of things. Inspections Manager, now this is, like I say, how we interface with coordinate measurement machines or similar, any type of device really, but every machine is a little bit different. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about this. If you're using automated inspections equipment, though, we do data mappings specific to your equipment and the results that you want to get off of that equipment. So if you'd like to automate the collection of inspections results, let us know. We can have a far more in-depth discussion than what we have time for today. And AS9100 for the aerospace and defense crowd, this is where we're automating the generation of that AS9102 first article inspections report. So Form 1, the job components, they come in from ERP. Form 2, the materials and processes, those are also pulled in from ERP. And then Form 3, we combine the characteristics from the first article inspections data out of UniPoint into this report. So it creates all three forms required for AS9102 Rev B in an automated way through our first article inspections. Now, UniPoint Web, we will be looking at this today, but I wanted to impress upon you that we took a mobile-first approach with UniPoint Web. I'm sure many of you have some experience with a web application that doesn't really play nice on a small screen device like a mobile phone. We wanted to make sure that UniPoint Web was easy to navigate on a small screen device. And so here we have a list of all of my available modules. If I open up, say, for example, nonconformances, these are all of my nonconformances. I could do an advanced search in the top right corner. But when I open up a nonconformance, we have all of the major phases of a nonconformance clearly labeled. So I have my origination phase, we can see, on to investigation, and then finally dispositioning that nonconformance in an easy to interact with, easy to use type of a mobile interface. But we have not neglected the laptop or the desktop side of things. If you'd prefer to use a mouse and a keyboard, it's just as good of an interface if you go down that route. We've included some nice creature comforts like a night mode to make it easier on your eyes if you're using this all day, every day. And the portal side of things, I touched on this before, but the portal allows you to assign tasks from inside of UniPoint to your customers or to your vendors or suppliers. Really, again, it extends the scope of your quality system. I won't go through all of the details here, but if you wanted to get your customers and your vendors involved in your quality workflows through a portal type of interface, let us know. I'd be more than happy to take you through all of the details here with a dedicated demo. A couple of more slides, and then we're going to jump into a live product demo here. The trend analysis that we do, again, there's over 80, actually it's probably closer to 200 different ways to trend out the data if we consider all of the filtering capabilities. A few examples of things that we might trend on screen there. The total cost of quality is kind of the overall trend with respect to how we're managing our quality budget, if you will. So we want to make sure that we're using it to the best of our abilities, that we're reducing our quality spending over time. This will help you analyze your performance, demonstrate a return on investment on UniPoint, on other software, maybe even on hardware or equipment that you've picked up. Very powerful this in terms of demonstrating that you are headed in the right direction. And the last thing that I'll make mention of before we jump into the product is this key indicators dashboard. And as I mentioned, it's a per user dashboard. Everybody has their own distinct view of this dashboard. So based on their job description, their responsibilities, when they log in, they'll have an immediate view as to what they're responsible for. Past due items are marked in red, so we understand instantly if we're behind schedule. And I can also review emerging trends on my dashboard as well. Most of our customers these days, they're driving their audit through this dashboard. So you can create a dashboard for a particular type of audit or for a specific auditor. And when they log in, then they would have at their fingertips all of the information that they might need to review. They don't have to go searching through filing cabinets or through shared drives and so on. Most of everything, if not everything, that they need to review is right there in front of them. So with all of that said, I'm going to jump in and I'll give you a live demonstration about what we'll do is we'll kick off an inspection, we will fail an inspection, and then I'll automatically create my non-conformance workflow, and we'll take a look at some of the workflow capabilities in UniPoint. So let me jump out of my presentation. I'll just minimize this. And I'm going to start off in the web application. I'm happy to jump into the Windows application if maybe there's some interest, but the idea behind the Windows and the web application is that they both tie into the exact same database. As soon as I add information into the Windows application, it's immediately available in the web application and vice versa. The design philosophy between the two is the same. So if you learn the system on the Windows application and then you want to use the web application moving forward, those skills are immediately transferable. So we haven't changed the workflow management and so on. It's the same design idea throughout both products. Before I jump in, this dashboard is my live dashboard, and I've selected just some examples, and you can have as much detail on here as you might require. At a glance, though, I can see, for example, that I have 2 new nonconformances today, and I'll just zoom in slightly for maybe it might be a little difficult for some people to see. But here we can see that I have 2 new nonconformances today. This morning, Jill and I did a couple of demos, and in those demos, I created these nonconformances. We'll see this number update in real time after we fail our inspection, but I can also see that I have 3 nonconformances that are past due. When I click on these metrics, all of the related records are listed down below. So I can immediately navigate right from the dashboard into the records that I need to take action on. And that is true across all of our dashboard items. For example, I can see that me personally, I have 3 tasks or 3 to-dos that are due today, and they're all listed down below. Unfortunately for me, I have a number of past due tasks. I do a lot of demos. I don't always clean up after myself, so you would never see something like that in the real world, but this gives you an immediate understanding as to what you're responsible for. Now, I mentioned before, a non-conformance is typically the result of a failed inspection. So let's kick off an inspection. To do that, I'll use my inspections mobile platform. And this can be done on any type of a device. I'm doing it on a laptop right now, but you might do it on a tablet, whether it's an Apple tablet, an Android tablet, it doesn't matter. I'm going to create a brand new inspection, and the test plan ID or the specification ID, if I know what that is, I can just key that in directly, but I might be looking up the appropriate test plan based on the work order or the job that we're working on, the material or the item that we're handling, the work center, and so on. I happen to know a number off the top of my head that I like to use, 10,001, very easy number to remember. And when I hit enter, it's going to load up all of the conditions that I've set up in my test plan. And this is a decidedly simplistic example. Your inspections likely would be far more complex than this, depending on the nature of the inspection. But really, any type of inspection, whether it's 3 characteristics like this example or 300 characteristics, we can manage it all. In this case, my name has been recorded automatically, so that's good to go. I'll double check though. My tools have been defined for me. So here, whoever designed the test plan, they've set up a particular planned measurement device, a planned instrument, if you will. My first job is to double check, are my tools properly calibrated? And here I can see that this particular device, it has past due tickets on it, so it's not appropriate to use. I'm going to substitute in a properly calibrated instrument. So now we have recorded the actual tool versus what was initially planned, and I can go back to my attributes list and record some results. Now, if I have a pass, we'll do 6 inches even on width. That is within these tolerances. It's right on the nose. So we can see that my control light is lit up in red. I know that I've passed on width. If I have something that is not necessarily a fail, so in this case, 6.75 is still within these very generous tolerance levels, but it hasn't failed yet. It has, however, hit one of my control levels. So at this point, an alert can go out. We can notify people immediately, even before we've had a failure. Maybe there's something that we can do proactively to reduce this, to kind of reel this in a little bit to prevent a failure from occurring on future parts, if you will. But if I do have a failure on thickness, I'll do 0.56. That is an outright failure. When I hit enter, it's moved me onto the second item, but I can see at a glance that we've already failed on thickness. So at this point, in the top right corner here, I'll use the little drop down to say create a nonconformance. And now going back to what I said before, we manage 3 types of nonconformances in UniPoint: in process for issues that you've detected in-house, vendor or supplier facing nonconformances for managing incoming goods or raw material inspections that don't meet your requirements, and then customer issues. If they've got a return, maybe they have a complaint for you, you can manage those via our nonconformance module as well. I'll use my in-process type and I'll create this nonconformance for the entire batch. But I might say, just the failed items, or maybe I'd like to hand select some items out of the batch to create that nonconformance. I'll do it for the entire batch. And now I'm going to use my in-process template. And I have many templates. You can have as many as you might need. I have an RMA template for handling customer issues, a material return template for dealing with my suppliers, and I'll use my in-process template because this was an in-process inspection. I'll auto number that nonconformance. And now right from that failed inspection, we have a brand new nonconformance that's been created. The operator doesn't have to make any design decisions. They don't have to decide who is this being sent to and so on. That's all built into the template. So if I get out of Inspections Mobile and come back to my dashboard, this still says 2 nonconformances today. My dashboard is set to refresh once per minute. So if I talk long enough, that will automatically refresh itself. I'll just manually click on that refresh button to give myself the latest numbers here. And so when this updates, we will see that I now have 3 new nonconformances today. If I open up that most recent nonconformance here, I'm dropped into my nonconformance workflow where I can review in detail where we're at, where we need to go. And in UniPoint, we are very much a believer in, we don't want to necessarily dictate to you how you should be managing quality. You know better than we do what your requirements are, what your customers' requirements are, what your auditor's requirements are. What we want to do is we want to give you a framework where you can build out your own requirements. So we start off in an origination phase. We perform some tasks down below. We then do an investigation. There's some tasks there to complete. After we're done that, we perform our disposition. Are we scrapping this product? Can we just use it the way it is, whatever the case may be? After we've dispositioned this nonconformance, the nonconformance is complete and it's put onto the manager's to-do list to review and to close it out. So that's at a very high level, our design philosophy on managing these workflows. Before I jump into that, I'll say that in my task, I can see, first of all, high-level details about the nature of this failure. We failed on the very first item. I can see what those inspections results were. Not enough detail, though. This is just kind of a high-level look at this. My job, though, at this point is to come in, leave my notes, whatever would be appropriate while we're originating this nonconformance. I can add any types of attachments to my task, whether that be external files, or I can attach to any other UniPoint record as well for traceability. And before I complete my task, I record how much time did I spend on this. If I put in 1 hour and 15 minutes, I want to make sure that I record that, because we are a cost tracking tool as much as we are a quality management tool. We want to make sure that we are reducing our costs and reducing our poor quality spending over time. When I complete this task here, it's going to move it on to the next person in the sequence. So now Patty has been notified that she has an active task, and that's because I sequenced these 1, 2, 3. But you can sequence these however you might see fit. Maybe you want 2 active tasks at the same time. You're in full control over the design of these workflows. Once you've designed a workflow, you simply save that as a template, and this is true across all of our modules. Anytime you've designed a document sign-off procedure, an inspection routine, whatever the case may be, you can always save that as a template, and then you can force your users to only create new records from your predefined templates. So you've got a lot of control over how we're routing these workflows, who's involved, and so on. I will skip ahead here for just a moment, and I'll say that on the Attachments tab of my nonconformance, I have a direct link to that inspection record that failed. I also have a link to the inspection specification that governed that inspection, if you will. And if I double click on this inspection record, it's going to open up my inspection records module with a view of that particular inspection. All of the general information is just the nature of the inspection, what type of inspection we're looking at, is there a description, what is the revision of this inspection, and so on. The measurements tab is where we get to actually see the details. So here I can see that I failed on item 1 on thickness. I had a warning on height. I can add as much detail to the screen as I like as well. Maybe I want to know what those passing values were, so I can add that onto screen. I can place that detail wherever I want. But on the attachments tab of that failed inspection, I also have a link to the resulting nonconformance. So you can always find supporting documentation, supporting records on this attachments tab. Now, back to my nonconformance here. If we're looking at this workflow, I mentioned before, we originate, we investigate, then we disposition. During the investigation phase, we might be doing, maybe it's a 5Y type of a workflow, maybe you've got an 8D type of a procedure built out in your template. Whatever the nature of your investigation, you would document that in the workflow here. The goal, though, of the investigation is to come up with a root cause. Why did we have this problem in the first place? And down below here, these are all integration points right from Sage. So I might say, one of my vendors is the reason we've had this failure. And when I select vendor on the left-hand side, then this becomes a vendor lookup. So I can attribute this directly to one of my vendors, and maybe I'll pick on Alloy Welding this time. I can say that Alloy Welding, they sent me raw material or components or whatever the case may be, and they used packaging that was not watertight, for example. These cause categories and these causes, you define using your own terminology what they are. So it doesn't, not based on my examples here, you would have real world causes and real world categories that you're managing. So whether it's something, reasonable, like not watertight, even something silly, maybe we don't want our raw material put into boxes that are green for whatever reason. You use your own terminology so that you've got reporting and such that divides along these lines and gives you an idea as to how many times have we had a package come in from this supplier that was not watertight, that failed incoming goods inspections, and so on. Before I move any further, I wanted to show you one example of a report. All of our modules come predefined with reporting off the shelf. So you've got a starting set of reports that is suitable for most of our customers. Use the reporting just as it is, but you are able to modify our reporting if you'd like as well. I might want to do an analysis of all of my nonconformances based on this root cause. So in the top left here, I have my reports tab. So now we can see all of our available reports. If we look at, for example, under inspections, we're doing things like histogram reports, X-bar charts, IMR reports, so all types of statistical analysis. But if I come back up to my nonconformance reports here, I wanted to run an example where I'm doing an analysis of all of my nonconformances based on that origin or based on the root cause, if you will. And I'll run mine wide open to begin with, just to give you an idea, but then I can be more specific, of course. When I run mine wide open, mine is going to show me that it's almost worst case scenario. 44% of my nonconformances were the result of me shipping product to a customer. They found a problem with it and now they need to return it or whatever the case may be, but it's not a good customer experience in any event. If I had some more proactive measures in place where I could detect these problems earlier, find those in-house at one of my work centers, obviously I'm saving myself a ton of time, effort, reputation, of course, in the long run. I did find 29% of my nonconformances at a work center, so that's better. And I also found 15% of my nonconformances that were attributed to a vendor. So typically incoming goods inspections that failed. I might want to know though, how many times have we had that problem with that particular vendor and what's the dollar value of it? I can do a breakdown of all of my vendors. This will show me, which vendors are causing me the most problems. And in my system, I pick on one vendor more than the others. I'm sure that they're a fantastic company in the real world, but in my system, ATS Steel, they are the lion's share of my nonconformances at 62.5%. At the bottom of this report, we're breaking out the time that we've invested. Like I say, we're capturing all of the salary time that's been invested in actioning these nonconformances, the calculated salary cost, any rework time that's potentially gone into these nonconformances, scrap material that we had to throw away, and then all told, what did these nonconformances cost us? And you could put a date range on this as well. The next page gives me a breakdown of the origin causes and the origin categories. And I do a lot of demos. I create a lot of non-conformances. I don't always finish my root cause analysis. That's why we see so many unknown. But in the real world, you would have a list of how often are we having this packaging issue, specifically how much did not watertight boxes cost us. We do a full breakdown there so you can understand the cost of this poor quality from a particular supplier, for example. So like I say, that is one report out of over 100 different standard quality reports. I want to move along here because I have some more ground that I want to cover. I'm going to jump out of this nonconformance, and I'm actually going to open up one of the nonconformances that I have past due. And I use this record a lot. The reason I bring it up is because what I've done here during investigation, we came up with our root cause analysis down below, but I've also recognized that we've had this problem before. And in this case, I do have an existing corrective action that I've set up that I'm addressing this vendor with long-term. If you have an existing corrective action, you can make that linkage immediately. If you've never seen this issue, or maybe this is an emerging problem, you can create a brand new corrective action right there on the spot. And if you don't have the permissions to perform one of those functions across all of our modules, you can always request an item. So if somebody doesn't have that responsibility themselves, they can delegate that to somebody else. They can run it up the flagpole and find out if maybe there is, an appropriate avenue with a corrective action moving forward. But just take note of this corrective action. I'll get back to it in a moment. After we've investigated, then we disposition, as I'd mentioned before. After the disposition phase, that is it. That is the entire nonconformance. So very simply, originate, investigate, disposition. On the accounting tab of a nonconformance, we summarize the time and the cost involved. So we can see at a glance how much time we've invested at each major phase of this nonconformance. If we consider the rework cost, the scrap material, and so on, this one instance of the problem has cost me $1,800. But this isn't the only instance of the problem. If I remind you, during investigation, I have many issues that we're addressing with this one kind of umbrella corrective action. And I can open up that corrective action from here. I'm going to skip ahead quite a bit here, all the way to the attachments tab of this corrective action, just to show you that this is the nonconformance that I just came from. We always provide a reciprocal link back on that attachments tab to other originating records. But if you'll take note here, I actually have, it's like 14 or 15 individual instances of the same problem that we've had from this supplier. On the accounting tab of a corrective action, we pull all of those costs together. So I can see at a glance how much each specific nonconformance has cost us in terms of the time, the dollar value. Maybe we discuss this during an audit as well. We're doing time tracking during our audits back to the root causes and accumulating those in corrective actions. So here I can see this is the total cost of the problem itself. The cost of the corrective action, turns out that that's a pretty nice return on investment. We only had to spend $360 to save ourselves 10 times that amount of money. But the cost variance calculation here will help you determine if this is viable moving forward. Sometimes the cure is more costly than the problem itself, so you can start to make that type of determination based on the cost calculations that we provide. By the way, all of these costs that we're collecting, that is where we get the information from my dashboard. So I can see at a glance, for example, how much did I spend last year to date, up to this date, actioning my nonconformances versus this year up to this date. So in my case, I've reduced my quality spending, at least on the nonconformance side, by more than half. Pretty nice change of pace there. And we're doing cost tracking across all of our available modules that we understand immediately, what the dollar value of these issues are, what the overall relationship with our supplier might be costing us, or customers as well. And there's cost tracking across all of our available modules. Now, we've very quickly touched on inspections. I briefly talked about that. I'd be more than happy to, like I say, spend an hour, as much time as it might take, to show you specifically how your quality control checks might present themselves and how they might work inside of UniPoint. Same idea with all of our modules. We haven't had a chance to go through a lot of these. I am going to jump into document control here just to round out the last 7 minutes that I've got. But if there's any interest in any of our available modules, I would encourage you to let us know. Let your consultant at Veracas Bloom know. Always happy to jump in for a dedicated demo. Now, in the last 5 minutes or so, I'll just highlight, for example, document control. I bring this up because document control is really the cornerstone of any quality management system. I'm going to show you a couple of things here. First of all, if I'm searching for a record, I search for a record the same way in document control as I do in nonconformances, in tooling and equipment. It's always the same way. When I open the module, I'm presented with these filters up across the top. And when I click on show list, it's going to show me all of the documents that match these criteria. So in this case, all of my active documents. I might be trying to find one particular document though, and maybe I don't know what its name is. Maybe I don't know what the type is. I might know though that it contains the word employee. So we can do a deep dive inside of the actual documents and find all of the files that contain that word. In this case, I'm looking for my employee handbook, and there it is. When I open up my employee handbook, we will see this is currently my active revision of this document. It's active because all of the sign-offs have been completed, and I'll get back to that in just a moment. But you define all of the different document types that you might be managing. I've set up some examples as part of my demos. I add to this list almost all the time. Your list would be far smaller than this, I would imagine. But whether it's maybe a training video, an SOP, a work instruction, a drawing, we can manage any type of document or file type. I can relate this to a customer. So this is a live lookup into all of my customers right from Sage 100. And again, I can use this lookup glass to pull in the specific customer if appropriate. I might relate this to a vendor or a supplier. Maybe I bought some equipment from one of our suppliers. I can tie those two together and make that association. Same idea with the part list or the item list. I can pull in all of my items directly from Sage, and I can say, maybe this is a handling instruction for this particular part ID, if you will. So all types of different integration points back to your ERP data. This document, like I say, it's active because my sign-offs have been completed. So I've approved of this, and I've put myself in 4 times just to make my demos easier. In the real world, this might be 4 different people. It might be 1 person, a team of people. You configure it exactly how you might require it. After we've approved of a document, though, this distribution list kicks in. And this kind of goes back to that one of the first slides that I showed with that desk that was covered in paper. An auditor might come through your facility and they might say, hey, you've got a piece of paper on a bulletin board or in a filing cabinet or on somebody's desk. And they might say to you, just by definition, that piece of paper is not under control. What is your plan to make sure that it's always the most recent release? This distribution tab makes sure that anytime we have a brand new revision, we're always distributing it to people, places, locations that require it. So as an example, this is a filing cabinet that I have a hard copy stored in, and an auditor, again, they might take exception to that. But in this case, we do have this filing cabinet under control in the sense that the document manager, they acknowledge that they've printed a new copy and they've stored it in that filing cabinet. So we know that that's the most current revision. This applies to things like maybe a shared drive, a bulletin board, maybe we've got documents in SharePoint and so on. So really the idea here is keeping uncontrolled locations under control. The reviews tab, you might have ongoing reviews, monthly reviews, annual reviews. This is going to land on my to-do list once a month, once a year to make sure, is this document still relevant moving forward? And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'll say it now. All of our modules, they're all protected by a robust permission system. So somebody has to have actual permissions to my tooling and equipment module, for example, to even see that it exists in the tree. Document control has permissions on it as well. But even if somebody has access to document control, if they're not on that document's specific security tab, then they don't see that this document exists at all. So right now, even if somebody has access to document control, only Brian and myself are able to access this particular document. And I could say, now I want to release this to the overall company. I'm going to add a permission here for my everyone group of users. And that is literally, I'll say I do want it to be a group. We'll just say true there. So now I'm exposing this document to the everyone group. They have read permissions. They're not able to edit or delete it. And we never recommend deleting it, by the way. You are able to, but we don't recommend it. The everyone group of users, they can read these documents. If they see that there's a problem with a document, they can do a request on that. And so they could request a document revision. That would typically land on Brian's to-do list to edit that document, to create a new rev and so on. And so this is a very quick look at our document control module. Wanted to give you an idea as to what it looked like. These documents, they're all stored in a secured document vault, so nobody can modify these files outside of UniPoint. They're always under control. So very quick look there. And I wanted to leave some time at the end of the session today for some questions. So I think now is a good time to wrap up. And I'll touch base with Kelly to see maybe there's been some questions that have come through in the meantime.
You must be doing a fantastic job. There's not one question, Dylan.
Okay. I appreciate that. And, sometimes I say that myself after a demo. I'll say, wow, I must have answered everybody's questions, but I know that that's not the case. There's going to be questions to be sure. So let your Veracruz Bloom consultant know. Let Jill know as well. Let me pull up my slide deck here one more time to give you access to our contact information. If you'd like to reach out directly here, we'd love to hear from you. So, oh, by the way, while you do this, and maybe I'll let Jill describe this, but while you're working with us, we can come up with quotes and so on. And I'll let Jill maybe pick up here and talk about what the next steps might be in your evaluation of UniPoint.
Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate the presenting the details and the scope of the product. As you can see, this is very configurable. And, if you would like to take that next step to work with us on one-on-one, we'd be glad to work with you and your team regarding your quality goals, requirements, and your current challenges and how the solution can help you. If you're curious and interested in a price, a couple of things that I would need to know from you is first and foremost is what modules you're interested in. As I mentioned, this is very scalable. So if you like to just start with the core module offering, the base quality system, the ones highlighted in blue, and maybe that alone to start, and you can certainly phase in the optional modules. So first, let me know what modules are of interest. And then as Dylan mentioned, we sell this on a concurrent user basis. So the number of people utilizing the system at the same time. You can give access to as many people as you want, but it's priced on the people that are logged in concurrently. With that, we have two different license types. One is what's called full licenses, and those are for the people that would be entering data, running reports, running the metrics, doing your quality admin work. The other user is what we call light, and that encompasses quite a bit of functionality. First of all, it is for viewing of information. So somebody may want to come and view a corrective action record or see if a tool's been calibrated. They can pull up a document in Doc Control and view it. That is a light user. But a light user can also initiate a request for non-conformance or a request for a change order. That is a light user. If you embrace the education and training module for the employees that sign off on training, that is also a light user, as well as inspections data entry through the inspections mobile. So out of the production manufacturing area for the inspectors to enter those test results using the inspections mobile module, that's a light user as well. Now, if you're interested, reach out to me. I'd be glad to put all of this in writing for you to spell this out in detail, but certainly be glad to work with you one-on-one, as well as the ability to, tailor a price quotation for you to see how this would, work in terms of your budget. We do have a couple different pricing models. If you want to go and treat this as an operating expense, we can do it as subscription or a capital expenditure with the ability to depreciate. We can do an upfront purchase. So we give you a lot of flexibility when it comes to making this budget friendly. Otherwise, I would be glad to work with you. You'll see my contact information there. It's just jillw@unipointsoftware.com, or you can call me directly on the number presented. With that, did any other questions come through as we wrap up?
No, you guys are fabulous. Not one question. I'm sure people will have questions afterwards. Sit back and digest all this, right?
Absolutely. And that's very, very common.
Perfect. All right. Like Jill and Dylan said, go ahead and shoot us any questions. You have some email addresses here. You can reach out to your favorite VBCC consultants. I would like to just quickly thank Dylan and Jill and the UniPoint team. The marketing team was great back there for making this webinar possible. And of course, our attendees. We know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you spending a little bit of it with us. You'll be getting a survey as soon as this webinar ends. If you need CPE credit, go ahead and mark it there. And just a little feedback on the presenters. And I think that's it for us. Again, thanks everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
Thank you, Kelly. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.